Imagine a world where buying your way into nobility was just normal. And even royal physicians argued if preventing disease was like a sin.
Huh, yeah. Welcome to 18th century Europe.
We're diving into this really fascinating snapshot today. You shared a great collection of writings, Durant, Voltaire, others painting this vivid picture.
And our goal is to pull out the most insightful and maybe unexpected bits for you.
So what jumps out immediately from these sources is how power was just so fluid.
Definitely. Take France right after Louis XIV's death. You've got a 5-year-old king, Louis IV. That immediately creates a kind of power vacuum.
Right, and a scramble for control.
Exactly. You've got key players like the Duc de Maine. He was a legitimized son of Louis XIV.
Durant paints him as physically shy, maybe not super ambitious himself.
Yeah, but his wife, the Duchesse du Maine, granddaughter of the great Condé, she was the driving force. Apparently, her court at Sceaux was like a prelude and springboard to sovereignty.
A training ground, almost. And she even patronized Voltaire, didn't she?
She did. It was all about positioning. Then you have Philippe II, Duc d'Orléans. He was Louis XIV's nephew, son of his brother.
And the sources suggest he was maybe more interested in, well, pleasure than politics.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
But he still managed to outmaneuver the Duc de Maine. It just shows, in these transitional times, personality and ambition can sometimes count for more than strict lines of succession.
And behind them, you have figures like Abbé Dubois, Philippe's tutor.
Ah, yes. Saint-Simon and Duclos really lay into him, an apothecary's son who climbed the ranks.
And Duclos claims he actively corrupted the young regent.
That's the accusation, yeah. Whether true or not, it highlights how these background figures and personal relationships could really steer things.
And Philippe promising the Paris Parlement their old powers back to gain support.
Right, that's a key move. It wasn't a parliament like the English one, more a high court, but it had influence. He needed allies.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The finances. John Law's system in France.
Oh, yeah. A really bold idea to manage France's huge debt using paper money, banking innovations.
But it led to massive speculation, didn't it? Inflation.
Completely. It spiraled. Durant mentions people literally hoarding gold and silver coins, terrified the paper money would become worthless.
And the prices. Silk stockings costing a fortune. That detail really sticks.
It shows the real-world impact. Then the panic, everyone trying to exchange their paper money for anything solid land. Goods.
Just pure economic panic. It's a stark reminder about speculative bubbles, even centuries ago.
Absolutely. The psychology is fascinating. Speaking of different lenses on history, you might find Mindful Moments in our podcasts interesting. It's an AI audiobook analysis channel on YouTube. Offers some different takes.
Good suggestion. Okay, back to the Regency period itself. The moral side of things was complicated.
You have someone like Dubois, known for his lack of virtue, getting elevated high in the church.
Which, as Durant points out, really damaged the church's standing among the more, let's say, free-thinking parts of society.
Right. But at the same time, there was this explosion of intellectual freedom, a kind of loosening up.
Like with Lesage's book, Le Diable Boiteux, The Limping Devil.
Exactly. The premise is a devil lifts the roofs off houses in Paris, revealing all the sordid schemes, hypocrisies, vices.
And it was a bestseller. People loved seeing society's flaws laid bare, didn't they?
Oh, definitely. It really tapped into the zeitgeist. And then you have the young Voltaire, already making waves.
Getting exiled for making witty remarks about the regent himself.
Yeah, though thanks to his father, the exile was apparently quite comfortable, Sully-sur-Loire. But it shows his defiant spirit early on.
Now, it wasn't just the elites. What about ordinary people? Peasants, for instance.
The sources mention changes there, too. The loss of common lands was a big thing, leading towards larger, maybe more efficient, but less communal farming.
And Voltaire observed English peasants having significant property, though maybe that was a bit exaggerated for effect.
Possibly propaganda, yeah. But it points to different agricultural realities.
Yeah.
Then there's the rise of coal mining.
A solution to deforestation, right? Wood was getting scarce.
Exactly. But it came with its own huge problems, incredibly dangerous working conditions.
And that danger, that need for better ways to pump water out of mines, actually spurred innovation.
Precisely. It created a direct incentive for developing things like the steam engine. Necessity truly is the mother of invention.
We also see early forms of labor organizing in England, journeymen's associations.
Even though they were technically illegal, yeah. Workers starting to band together for better pay, safer conditions, the beginnings of the trade union movement, really.
And education in England seems like it really reflected the social hierarchy.
Very much so. Quality varied wildly, and it often reinforced class distinctions rather than overcoming them.
Marriage, too, is changing, or at least the ideas around it.
You had arranged marriages still very common, especially among the upper classes. But you also see the rise of love matches appearing more in novels, reflecting a shift in ideals.
And the whole fleet marriages scandal.
Oh, right. Clandestine marriages in London, often hasty or coerced. It led to legal reforms, Lord Hardwicke's Marriage Act in 1753, to try and regulate things.
And people running off to Gretna Green in Scotland to get married without English restrictions became quite romanticized.
It did, a symbol of defying parental control, choosing your own partner.
Okay, shifting focus again, let's look at English politics. George I arrives from Hanover.
Yeah, and he's not familiar with England, doesn't speak much English initially, relies heavily on his Hanoverian advisors.
And his main focus is often Hanoverian interests, isn't it?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Which sometimes clashed with British interest and wasn't always popular. This context helps explain the rise of someone like Robert Walpole.
Ah, Walpole. First real prime minister, effectively. Known for pragmatism and maybe some corruption.
Definitely pragmatic. His motto was quieta non movere, basically. Don't stir things up unnecessarily. He brought stability focused on trade and peace. But yes, he used patronage and, well, financial incentives quite effectively to maintain power.
A contrast perhaps with someone like Bolingbroke.
Bolingbroke was influential in reshaping the Tory party after their fall from grace. More ideological, perhaps, laying groundwork for future conservatism. It shows the dynamic nature of politics.
And England's relationship with other powers? Still tense with Spain?
Oh, yes. Constant friction over Gibraltar, trade in the Americas, these were ongoing issues.
And the situation in Ireland sounds quite grim based on the sources.
Deeply demoralizing. English rule led to widespread poverty, restrictions on Catholics, and a lot of talented people emigrating the wild geese. A very difficult period.
Then you have the Jacobite rebellions, attempts to restore the Stuart monarchy.
Right, most famously, Bonnie Prince Charlie's attempt in 1745. Romanticized, but ultimately a failure. It really cemented the Hanoverian succession.
And amidst all this, figures like William Pitt the Elder emerge.
Pitt the Elder, known for his integrity, his powerful oratory, and his strong advocacy for expanding British power and influence globally. A very different figure from Walpole.
Let's turn to religion. The church in France, wealthy, powerful, but facing issues.
Big issues. Huge wealth, yes, but also accusations of corruption. The higher clergy were almost exclusively drawn from the nobility, often more interested in court life than spiritual matters.
And they resisted taxation, right?
Yeah.
Which didn't help their public image.
Not at all. It fueled a lot of resentment. And the persecution of Huguenots, French Protestants, continued, didn't it?
It did. Enforcement might have waxed and waned, but legally they faced severe discrimination, restrictions, harsh punishments. Religious intolerance was still very much a reality.
Which contrasts interestingly with what was happening in England with Methodism.
Ah, Wesley and Whitefield, a religious revival.
A huge revival, especially among the lower and middle classes. It emphasized personal faith, piety, moral conduct.
It had a real social impact, too, didn't it? Addressing issues like slavery later on.
Absolutely. It profoundly influenced English morality, though some critics, as the sources note, found it a bit anti-intellectual, maybe overly emotional.
And alongside these movements, you also had the rise of deism.
Right. A belief in God based on reason and nature, rather than revelation or scripture. God is the clockmaker who set the universe in motion but doesn't intervene directly.
It was a challenge to traditional Christianity, emphasizing reason.
Which leads us straight into the heart of the Enlightenment, the power of reason.
Hume, the Scottish philosopher. His skepticism must have been quite radical.
Deeply influential. Questioned the very basis of knowledge, cause and effect. But he also stressed the importance of human sentiment and social instincts and morality. He didn't think pure reason was enough.
And Voltaire, again, battling intellectually, critiquing Pascal.
Yeah, he found Pascal too pessimistic, too focused on faith over reason. Voltaire really embraced the Newtonian worldview, the universe governed by rational laws. His time in England was crucial for that. And the Encyclopedia, that massive project.
Truly monumental. Diderot, D'Alembert, and many others collaborating to gather all human knowledge.
It was fundamentally an Enlightenment project, aiming to disseminate knowledge, promote critical thinking, challenge old authorities, especially religious ones.
And so many thinkers proposing concrete reforms. Abbé de Saint-Pierre.
He had ideas for everything. Universal education, a European Union for peace, progressive taxation, religious toleration. Way ahead of his time in many ways.
Marquis de Soissons, too, advocating land reform, freer trade.
Yes, critiquing the existing inequalities, and of course, Montesquieu.
The spirit of the laws, analyzing different forms of government.
And crucially, proposing the separation of powers, legislative, executive, judicial, as a way to prevent tyranny. Hugely influential, especially later in America.
This era wasn't just about philosophy and politics, though. Art and science were flourishing.
Absolutely. Think of the Rococo style, ornate, elegant, light-hearted. The Amalienburg Hunting Lodge near Munich is a prime example mentioned.
And Meissen porcelain, a major artistic and technological achievement in Europe.
Definitely. Then musically, you have these giants Bach and Handel.
Bach, his incredible cantatas, organ works, Brandenburg concertos. The complexity is astounding.
A master of the Baroque, pushing its boundaries. And Handel dominating the music scene in England with his operas and oratorios like Messiah.
And science. Just an explosion of discovery.
Yeah.
Electricity.
Yes, Franklin with his kite experiment. Priestley, Coulomb developing laws of electrical force. People were starting to understand and harness it.
Chemistry, too. Chile, Lavoisier.
Lavoisier especially fundamentally changed chemistry, identifying oxygen, understanding combustion, creating a systematic nomenclature. The father of modern chemistry, really.
Astronomy was advancing rapidly with better telescopes.
Bradley discovering the aberration of starlight, confirming the Earth's motion. Laplace developing theories about the solar system's origin and stability. Huge steps forward.
Even fields we take for granted now are just starting. Meteorology, geology.
Early studies of wind patterns, atmospheric pressure. And James Hutton in geology, proposing that Earth's features were formed by incredibly slow, gradual processes over vast amounts of time, deep time, a revolutionary idea.
Plus, the great voyages of exploration like Captain Cook's.
Expanding geographical knowledge, collecting scientific data, mapping new territories, it was all part of this drive to understand the world.
And medicine saw some major advances. Inoculation against smallpox.
A huge one. Lady Mary Wortley Montagu bringing the idea back from Turkey. It was risky, but it saved lives. And it paved the way for Jenner's later work on vaccination using cowpox, which was much safer.
And obstetrics becoming a proper specialty.
Yes, figures like William Smellie developing safer techniques and instruments for childbirth, making it less dangerous for both mother and child.
So, alongside all this progress, there was also a direct attack on traditional religion, particularly Christianity, the philosophe.
Right. Their opposition was multifaceted. They saw the church as often obstructing scientific progress. Think Galileo. They pointed to his history of persecution, intolerance, the Inquisition, religious wars.
And its immense wealth and political influence seemed hypocritical to many.
Exactly. Then you had thinkers who went further, towards outright atheism. Lemaitre, with his book Man a Machine, arguing humans were purely physical beings.
Diderot explored these ideas too, often through dialogues like Le Rêve d'Alembert.
Yes, questioning free will, the soul. Helvetius focused on sensation as the source of all ideas, and self-interest as the primary motivator.
And Baron d'Holbach was perhaps the most uncompromising atheist of the bunch.
His Système de la Nature was a direct assault on religion, arguing for a purely materialist, deterministic universe. It caused a huge scandal.
Voltaire, though, his position was more complex, wasn't it?
Much more. He started out defending a kind of rational Christianity or deism, but he became an absolutely fierce critic of religious fanaticism, superstition, and injustice.
His campaigns for the Calas family, the Chevalier de la Barre.
Exactly. Fighting against wrongful convictions fueled by religious prejudice. He used his fame and wit relentlessly. But he never quite became an atheist himself. He famously said, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him.
Believing religion was necessary for social order, perhaps.
Partly that, yes. He maintained a belief in a creator God, a sort of deist position. His Dictionnaire Philosophique, a portable philosophical dictionary, was brilliant, using wit and reason to attack intolerance and dogma. It was hugely influential.
And this led to debates about ethics. If not religion, what's the basis for morality?
That was a central question. Could you derive a system of ethics purely from reason, from human nature, from social utility, without needing divine commands? Many Enlightenment thinkers believed you could.
So overall, you see a definite decline in traditional religious belief, especially among the educated classes.
Yes, and a corresponding growth in religious toleration, at least as an ideal, even if practice lagged behind. The power of the church to dictate thought was weakening.
Voltaire seemed to think an educated minority was key to preventing religion from dominating society again.
He did. He put a lot of faith in reason and education to keep fanaticism in check.
So, wrapping up this 18th century, it was just brimming with change, wasn't it? Intellectual ferment, societal shifts.
Absolutely. It really shows that even things that seem totally entrenched, power structures, ways of thinking, religious beliefs, they can be challenged, they can transform. So many seeds of modern thought, science, politics were sown then.
It's fascinating, and you can really hear the echoes of those 18th century debates even today, can't you?
Oh, definitely. The tension between tradition and progress, faith and reason, individual liberty versus social order, these are perennial questions.
If this discussion has piqued anyone's interest, there's so much more to explore.
For sure. You could delve deeper into the Enlightenment's impact on the French Revolution or track the scientific breakthroughs that led directly to our modern world.
We definitely encourage you to do that. Please subscribe for more explorations like this and share it with anyone who enjoys digging into the complexities of history.
Links to purchase the works discussed are in the show notes.
And, as you navigate all the information coming at you today, maybe keep that Enlightenment spirit in mind. Question assumptions, seek out knowledge, and think critically.